Well, hello, folks, and welcome back to a Mo's Automotive Radio Show. Sorry, it's been a while for me to upload one of these, and I might be uploading this tonight. So, so I've been trying to upload more. As you guys have been noticing, I've been uploading more Gran Turismo videos. I may do a vlog. I'm going to try to do a vlog at the end of each night. Now that I'm officially back, so I'm going to try to do a vlog at the end of each night, and stuff like that. So of each night, so I can get back to you guys on a more constant basis. Just outside, because I figured I need to get outside more. It's a beautiful day here in Massachusetts. And I don't think we're going to be going in the pool anytime soon because it's a little on the wreck side. So, you guys noticed I got a haircut. I was getting a little thick. So everything's been going sort of well these days. You know, it's summer and stuff like that. So things going well enough. So still happy and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to upload a vlog video maybe at the end of the day, and stuff like that. So and I'm going to try to focus on stuff automotive. I'm going to try to do stuff automotive because this channel is automotive based. So I'm going to talk to you guys about automotive more and do more automotive trivia and stuff like that. I'll still do the, I'll still do the gear change shows on Saturday night. And, I'll report on racing and stuff like that. So this year, I said beforehand I was going to go to Watkins Glen, but my dad's been busy with work lately and doesn't know if he'll be able to, with the way things are right now. He's trying to get work in and try to stay busy. So we're probably going to go to Watkins Glen next year. So I'm actually happy that I got it in last year, which was good. We'll go next year, 2025, when things will settle down work-wise and stuff like that. But I'll still report on the 6 hours of the Glen on when it finishes on Sunday afternoon. I'll tell you guys the results, stuff like that. So I'm going to try to make this more, I'm going to try to transition this talking about cars more. I'm not really going to talk to you guys about my life because that was vlog series level stuff. That was stuff that I was doing in the vlog days. So I'm not going to talk about that because I think that's the reason why I think I've been losing, because I've been trying to keep you guys updated on my life. And that's kind of a private matter for me. And you guys rather would have me talk about cars rather than me talk about my personal life, because personal lives are boring and no one needs to know about that because everybody has their own privacy. I have my privacy. You have your privacy. All my fellow viewers, all 61 subscribers. And thank you, subscriber number 61. Got your channel name, but thank you for the happy anniversary wishes on the channel for 9 years. So yeah, from here on in, I'm just going to talk about cars and stuff like that. So I'm going to talk about racing and stuff like that. I wanted to talk about the Detroit Grand Prix and the IMSA races and stuff like that. So And I'm probably going to talk about some... Oh, yes, by the way, I I want to give a moment of silence, a minute moment of silence, 30 seconds each, for the souls. If you guys know, if anybody passes away, I usually do it for those of you who are in the racing world. I want to give, well, actually, no, I don't want to dedicate it to racing. I'll talk about the two individuals, Parnelli Jones and Bugsy Stevens, or Carl Bergman, or Bugsy Stevens, or the Bugs, as a lot of Northeasterners like me would call them. My dad my dad grew up watching the guy at Stafford and Seekonk and Thompson back in the 70s and 80s. And Parnelli Jones, who was of IndyCar and sprint car fame, also Trans Am, and IndyCar, Trans Am. I Can-Am a little bit. I think a little bit in NASCAR, but not much. So, and what was interesting was Bugsy and Parnelli both lived for 90 years. Both Parnelli died yesterday. Bergman died last week, but I didn't cover it because I didn't think about it, because I saw it in a Facebook post somebody put up. So I'm going to give Parnelli Jones, or Rufus, as Robin Miller would like to call him. So I'm going to give both Parnelli and Bugsy, or the Bugs, 1 minute of silence for their passing, starting now. Yeah, so that's my 1 minute for both Parnelli or Rufus, and the Bugs, Bugsy Stevens, Carl Bergman. So a little bit of each. I'm going to start with Bergman, or the Bugs, or Bugsy Stevens. Bugsy Stevens was a not a sprint car, but was a modified champion that raced from, I'm going to say, the early 50s until the late 70s, early 80s. And Bugsy Stevens was known here in the Northeast for his contributions, and he was a successful driver, had many wins. He drove at Thompson, Seekonk, Stafford Springs, in Connecticut, and he obviously toured around but when he was here driving on Thompson, Seekonk, Stafford, and were all racetracks that he drove at. And his car in the early days, in the early 50s, late 60s, was a blue number 3 Chevy. It was, I think it was either a 37 or a 38 Chevrolet business coupe with a 2-door configuration, usually probably with a 327 or a 350, probably a 327 in the later days. And then I think when he won the championship in 67, 68, and 69. Same year Ford won with the GT40. Yeah, he won 67, 68, and 69. Yeah, so he won. Yeah, so he won. Yeah, so he won same year that Ford won 3 of their Le Mans in a row, although Ford got 4 in a row with the GT40. Very, very successful on the tracks. My dad grew up watching him in at Thompson and Seekonk and at Stafford Springs in Connecticut, and a lot of these places are very well known to people like me. I've been to, my brother Chuck, he's been to Thompson. I've been to Seekonk. My brother Chuck has been to Seekonk and Thompson. My dad's been to Seekonk, Thompson, and I think he's been to Stafford Springs. This was like in the mid to late 70s after Bugsy won the title, won his 3 titles. And I've actually seen a blue, if you look up Bugsy Stevens Chevy Coupe, it's this business, 2-door business coupe. And I've actually seen the blue number 3, the old blue number 3 Chevrolet coupe with the open headers personally at a museum down in Rhode Island. And it's great to see a legend, car driven by a legend such as him, and he was legendary. And there's a bunch of accolades. You can look him up. He was well known. He was on the modified tour a long time. He would watch, NASCAR races and stuff like that, and NASCAR races, and he would be part of the modified championship. And then and he would visit the tracks when he was older. My dad was watching some of the stories that he would tell back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and he was active on the circuit. I've been watching the circuit, I think, up until like 2022, and then just recently, I think he was not able to go to events. His health deteriorated, and then he finally passed away about a week and a half ago of natural causes at the age of 90. So my condolences and my prayers go out to his family. Then there was Parnelli Jones. 1934 to 2024. Parnelli Jones was many things. He was a driver. He was a team owner. He gave a lot of people their first rides that would become famous or infamous in the driving scene. Parnelli Jones did IndyCar, NASCAR, Trans Am. I think in the 50s and 60s, he was mostly an IndyCar guy. He would run with different ones, and then he'd even, he was an adversary to Dan Gurney and Roger Penske, with Mark Donohue, and he was a very, very big rival of Mark Donohue with Penske, and Bud Moore, it'd be Bud Moore and Roger Penske and Parnelli Jones and him. There would also be Denny Hulme, I believe, would also be would be a teammate of Parnelli. I think he'd also help out. Anybody in the NASCAR crew would be with Trans Am. And he would also do the Indy Racing League, or USAC, or as Robin Miller, the 4-letter slur word that ruined IndyCar racing and open wheel racing for many, many years, which is why a lot of people decided to break off from USAC and enter CART, and CART unfortunately went to USAC rules and all that other stuff. But Parnelli Jones was one of the oldest, is the oldest up until recently this year, was the oldest active Indy 500 winner, because Parnelli did win, I believe, in 1963, which would be interesting because one of his drivers would go on to win 3 times. And it would give the racing world. Parnelli Jones was famous for one way, for introducing us to very, very infamous and some of us very big, larger than life. And that would be Robert Unser Jr., or as you guys know him, or as most of the motorsport fans in the world know him as, Robert Unser, Bobby Unser, or Uncle Bobby. And it would be, without that, we wouldn't have we wouldn't have had Bobby Unser. We wouldn't have a 3-time winner. We wouldn't have Bobby's personality. We wouldn't have Robin Miller too, and we wouldn't have had. And there wouldn't have been somebody for Robin Miller to write about all the crazy antics in the IndyCar car racing. And Robin Miller, of course, died 3 years ago. He was the Indy Star columnist writer for IndyCar, and he was prolific on writing on all the escapades and all the drama that Indy went through back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. So Parnelli was instrumental with was instrumental with bringing Bobby Unser and one of the guys who kept one of the guys who kind of drove innovation at the Speedway. He ended up and in racing, because he was the one who started the stock block movement in the late 50s, early 60s, and that's kind of that's kind of the rules that USAC would run. So he know that you could run a stock block engine or a production-based engine, and he ran a 6-cylinder engine in a Chevrolet, and he ran it against the Offenhauser, the tried and true Offie, and a lot of people stay with Offenhauser because Offenhauser was a great unit, and it sort of began the whole thing with the stock block. And Gurney would do it, bunch of other people, especially when the turbo era came through in the late 70s, early 80s. People started doing stock block Buicks and stuff like that, and it culminated into the early 90s when Buick and Maynard and Penske, of course, did their infamous stock block engine. So he was sort of instrumental in bringing the stock block brigade and the stock block outside the box thinking stock block rules. He was sort of instrumental in starting that whole thing and getting people to use stock blocks, which was amazing. So Parnelli was big in that. He was also big in Trans Am. He kind of fostered the Chevy versus Ford, the Ford versus Chevy battles, with the old 6970, with the Boss 302 and the 289s and the 302. And this was in a time when Gurney was doing the CUDA and Penske was doing obviously the Camaro with Mark Donohue, and always a good competitor to Mark and everybody else, and he gave Penske and Donohue a really good run for the money, the two best drivers in the world at IndyCar and stock. I mean, Mark Donohue and Parnelli Jones were both great stock car and IndyCar owners. I mean, they would drive for other people and they would work for other people, and anything they could get. I mean, this was back when guys were guys, and that sort of faded away, unfortunately, with all this woke crap. I wish people would just say the word equality and be done with it. But yeah, Parnelli Jones was big, and he was very well liked by the community. A lot of people respect him. Some people don't like him because he obviously brought Bobby Unser onto the scene, and not a lot of people like Bobby because Bobby was controversial, larger than life, kind of a big mouth, and kind of whiny, as the Unsers were. There's a roast for Bobby Unser, and Rufus Parnelli Jones would set a couple of good stories, and Parnelli would go, he goes, well, I don't know too many good stories about him, but I know a couple of bad ones. And they all knew, and they could either compliment each other or they could throw dirt in each other, because these guys raced with each other for a few decades, and they worked with each other, or they drove for one another, or well, I don't think Bobby ever drove for owned a team, but they either drove with each other or they drove for one another, or stuff like that. So, and Parnelli, was just a great influence in his. It's the reason why people know the 302 Trans Am Mustang, what people know the Grabber Orange paint job, and stuff like that. At least what a lot of people know about the Trans Am Wars, and reason why a lot of people are big with Ford because of that huge thing, and Bud Moore and all that other stuff. So Parnelli Jones was a really decent driver. He was an amazing driver, and he used to drive everything from Indy cars, sprint cars, midgets, and everything, and sports cars. I think he did a little sports car racing. His son ended up doing, his son PJ. Parnelli Jones, I think his PJ Jones. I don't think it's Parnelli Jones Jr., but I think I forget what his whole name is. But he was definitely prolific in establishing Indy lore, and he was kind of there at a time when the mid-engine revolution was kind of going, and he was the one. Well, I think by 68, 69. Everything was rear engines, because the Lotus was kind of the way to go. And he kind of stoved off the turbines back then. And Parnelli Jones did drive one of the turbine Lotuses, Lotus 56s, that would almost win but not win because of one small little washer, I think, and killing that run. So. So yeah, I mean, Parnelli Jones was very prolific. Bugsy was also a very big legend in Northeastern motorsport. He's well known. If you mention Carl Bergman or slash Bugsy, or if you mention Parnelli Jones, people will know who you're speaking of in sports car racing, NASCAR, and in IndyCar circles. So all right. So I got that out of the way, because two big names we ended up losing. So I'm going to shoot a episode later tomorrow, probably around 7, 8 o'clock. And then 7, 8 o'clock. And then I might do it on, well, Le Mans coming up. So I'm going to, coming up in about, coming up about 10 days, so about a week and a half. So, I'll definitely be watching that. I'll tell you guys how that goes. I'll definitely keep tabs on practice and qualifying, and I'll give you guys the results. Corvette Racing's not in it, so TF Sport is. I don't know if I'm going to root for TF. I think I might root for either one of the I may either root for one of the Ferrari teams or one of the Lamborghini teams. I don't know. So, or maybe one of the Mustang teams. See if the Mustangs come up with a win. So, because they're the only decent representation. I don't know if TF Sports. So, but yeah, I'll see you guys later, and I'll put this one out as quick as I can, and I will see you guys tomorrow night for another one. So, now the Le Mans coming up, I may do some Le Mans based stuff in the next week or so. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you, and good night.